Hello, my name is Mooncat and welcome to a very interesting video. The Mughal Empire, the brand new cultural settlement, has just been announced. It will start July the 14th on the beta server on Wednesday, and I'm really looking forward to playing this new settlement. So in this video, I'll be going over the announcement, have a look at the new mechanics, see how everything works, and then on Wednesday I will make a second video where I will play the settlement, get first impressions of how it works and how it feels like to play it, and perhaps get an idea of how difficult it will be. But before I go into this announcement, I just want to quickly say that if I sound different than I normally do, that is because I am in my new apartment. I have been moving recently and I'm starting to get settled in, but I'm still have a lot to do to figure out everything to do with audio and so on. So it'll do for this video, but I'll look into it in the future. So let's go. Dear kings and queens, we are proud to present your brand new cultural settlements, the Mughal Empire. This is the fifth of our cultural settlements, and your job is to help Akbar the Great to build a beautiful and flourishing city in his empire. Alright, so let's have a look at how this works. To achieve your goal, to build up a flourishing city, you will need rupees. So these will be the new currency, similar to the previous settlements where you have, copper, koban, and so on. So this will be the same as in previous settlements. You will be producing these rupees in your diplomacy buildings and from your residential buildings, and you need these rupees to produce cultural goods. So nothing new here. This is the same as before. So we have 20 quests, that's also the same. And in order to play the settlement, you need to be in the late Middle Ages, which I believe is the second latest of the settlements. To play the Aztec settlement, you need to be in the Colonial Age, but I believe all of the other ones can be played in Iron Age, if I'm not mistaken. So a little bit further on you need to be to play this, but not too far. Shouldn't take too long to get to the late Middle Ages if you want to play this settlement. So let's have a look at what this settlement contains. So there are some off-grid buildings with no interaction, which is interesting. I imagine this is these buildings over here, and perhaps this will continue over here and over here, but no interaction, and we'll get into that later on as well. You have the main building, the embassy, which is this building here. I believe it is quite big, can't quite remember. I believe it is 5 by 10 or something like that, but very, very big. So 4 kids buildings, as usual. You have 3 residential buildings, which I think is quite few, considering the size. Because I think the size of this settlement will be similar to the Egypt one, and I believe you have more residential buildings there. But still, and then you have 2 small diplomacy buildings and 3 large diplomacy buildings, and we'll get back into why there are 2 different types of diplomacy buildings. There are 43 expansions, which sounds quite a lot. You can unlock 39 of them, so it'll be interesting to see how many you... you can unlock 39, but it'll be interesting to see how many you should unlock. Will it be 12, so 2, will it be 8, 2 of each, or will it be 12, 3 of each, like in the Egypt settlement? Will it perhaps be more? Will you perhaps be able to buy 4 for each good? Like, perhaps it'll be, a bigger settlement. It does look like it'll be bigger considering the sizes of these buildings. As I went over in my speculation video a couple of weeks ago, a lot of these buildings are very big. So then we have 12 impediment removals, so there are impediments. I'm not sure if all of these are free. I imagine some of these are diamond impediments, but we'll see. And then for your city, as usual, you will have 2 reward buildings, the Mughal's Temple and the Minaret, and I'll get back to those later on, because we do know what they will give. Or if you want to skip ahead, you can just look at the timestamps, and then we have 4 emissaries, and we'll get into those as well. So here we have a sneak peek at how the settlement might look, and it looks really cool to me. As I mentioned in my previous video, I'm not too big of a fan of the art style of this. I'm still not, but looking at this in the actual settlement, it looks really, really cool. So I'm really looking forward to playing the settlement and figuring out, yeah, how to play, how easy it is, how difficult it is, and so on. So a new challenge begins, and this is where the interesting stuff starts. This time you will find no additional interactive building on the outskirts of your Mughal city. So no minigame, no trader, nothing like that. So there is no future feature, which is interesting because yeah, that it started to become, and after the Vikings, all of the previous settlements had some sort of feature. So really interesting that they decided to move away from that, because in my opinion that was what made these settlements unique and interesting. So we'll see if the new mechanics that they add instead of this makes up for that. I suspect it doesn't, but let's have a look. So this time around, the whole Mughal Empire is the puzzle and also the minigame you have to solve. So there are two types of diplomacy buildings, as we went over, 2 small and 3 large ones, and these have chain and set mechanics. This was speculated on a little bit in the speculation in spoiler thread, but the way this is implemented is really interesting, and I don't think anybody figured out how it would work in the spoiler thread. So the small diplomacy building have a chain ability, which means that you can attach them to your embassy sides. So here you can see that you can attach these diplomacy buildings to the sides of the main building. When you connect these buildings, you increase the overall amount of diplomacy in your settlement. You can either attach water canals to the sides, which I imagine are these things here to the sides, or alleys to the front embassies there. So I imagine this is here, so you can also chain buildings down here, like you see in this image over here on the right. And yeah, please be aware that you can place these diplomacy buildings anywhere in your city, but they will only provide you with additional bonuses if you properly connect them to your embassy. So I imagine each of these diplomacy buildings have a base reward, and then if you chain them, I imagine that the embassy also gets some additional diplomacy from that. I think that's how it will work. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays in, and if you need to use this bonus in order to get the required diplomacy to unlock the technologies, or if you can simply ignore this and just do like you normally do, where you replace normal buildings, build some diplomacy buildings, unlock technology, and then remove them again. So it'll be interesting to see how this works. But then we have the large diplomacy buildings. They have a set ability, meaning that you can collect additional cultural goods once a day by placing unique large buildings in the adjacency of your embassy, which is quite a mouthful, but the way I interpret this is that these pieces here, so this is one of these pieces, when you add that next to the embassy produces some additional cultural goods, which are the goods you need to unlock the technologies. So by placing these, I believe there was 3 large diplomacy buildings, you get additional goods for the settlement every day, I believe it was. So it will be interesting to see how big of an impact that has. Hopefully you'll be able to unlock all of these diplomacy buildings early on, because if you only have one, it sounds like you will not get too many bonuses. So hopefully you'll be able to unlock these diplomacy buildings really quickly. But yeah, I am interested to see how this will play out, but I am a little bit disappointed, because as I read this, let's just read this first and then I'll give my thoughts. There are 3 different large diplomacy buildings, and in order to fully maximize the potential of your settlement, you will need to build all of them. You can get up to 3 set bonuses, however, these are only granted by placing different set buildings, so this is a normal set mechanic. In other words, if you place 3 of the same large diplomacy buildings, you will only get 1 bonus, not 3. But here, by placing unique large buildings in the adjacency of your embassy, and we're close to the embassy. So to me, this suggests that it is the embassy that gets the bonus, and that, to me, is a little bit disappointing, because if that is the case, and we'll have to see on Wednesday, that means that you only need to place 3 of these, and that's that. There is no strategy, no crazy set designs that I am really fond of. Nothing like that. You just have to find a way to place 3 of these next to the embassy, which is a little bit boring if you ask me. I would have loved to see these pieces interact with each other as well as the embassy. Hopefully they do, but the way I read this, I don't think they do. But this we'll have to see on Wednesday. So, now that you are aware of the settlement space mechanics, you might be wondering what's the challenge it brings. Well, connecting all those buildings together is not an easy task. It sounds quite easy to me, as you need to decide which expansions are worth unlocking and which impediments should be removed. Well, that's nothing new, that's what we are familiar with from previous settlements. And also, you need to make room for residential and goods buildings as usual. So, impediments are also present in the Mughal Empire, of course. Every time you start a new playthrough, those are rearranged as usual. You can remove these. Let's see, how many do you have? Pickaxes can be found by completing the quest line, or you can purchase up to 6 of them with diamonds. Alright, so 6 for diamonds, then I imagine you also get 6 for free, for a total of 12, as it said here, 12 impediment removals. So I imagine that is 6 and 6. So now, what I imagine most of you are interested in, the rewards. First of all, you have the Mughal Empire, or Mughal's Empire, the Sun Temple. Alright, that sounds like a typo, is a beautiful 4x4 upgradable building with 6 levels. Upon reaching level 6, this building will provide you coins, forge points, random goods, and supplies, so no boost, which is interesting. However, it is only 4x4 and it gives 30 forge points, which is crazy. That is probably the best forge point producing building, if we ignore great buildings. It's probably the most efficient. Probably the highest number as well for a single building, and especially with a blue galaxy, this is a truly crazy forge point producing building. Now, of course, a lot of you probably don't care too much about forge points, but still, this is a really good building, and I would definitely build it even if you don't really need additional forge points, because it truly is a crazy amount of forge points. Then we have the secondary, the time reward, the Minaret. This one is 2x2, it has 4 levels, it gives coins, and it gives 3 forge points and 5 goods, which is quite nice. I believe that is the same number of forge points as the Jade statue, if I'm not mistaken. So 3 forge points and 5 goods is definitely nice, but still, same here, no bonus, no boost, so for me personally, and probably for quite a few of you, it's not too interesting. But if you are in a starting city, if you're starting out a new city, these forge points will definitely come in handy. And I think this is a really good building for most players. Probably not the most advanced players, but those who are still developing, this is probably a really a decent building. I'm not sure I'm gonna say great building. It's a good building, it's decent, but yeah, nothing too special. And then finally we have the Emissaries, which give you 1 forge point, metal, 3 goods from your age, and 3 goods from previous age. And these are a little bit disappointing to me. I will probably add this. I'm not sure how many additional slots you get. Does it say here how many you get? But last but not least, the Mughal Empire settlement have exclusive emissaries who will come to your city and sit in your town hall. There are 4 emissaries in total, and they can obtained. Alright, so doesn't say how many additional slots you get. You probably get 1 or 2 additional emissary slots. So probably you're gonna pick 1 forge point, and perhaps this one is the best one, because you will be producing quite a lot of goods from your age. So yeah, that's about it for this video here. I'm really looking forward to see how this works in game. I'm really intrigued by this set building and the chain ability bonuses. It looks really cool. It does look a little bit disappointing, but I will have to look at how it works in game in order to fully, comprehend how it works, and see if I have completely misread the announcement, or if it is like I have suggested here, where you will only be getting these these set bonuses for the emissary. So no crazy designs otherwise. But let's see in game when it starts in a couple of days. And let's leave it here for now. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully this was interesting. And I will see you on Wednesday.